Cancel your wedding plans. Your sister's baby shower comes first. The words came through the phone flat and clean, like a knife laid gently on a table. I stood in the doorway of my living room, still holding a fabric swatch from the dress fitting, watching dust float in the late afternoon light. The house was too quiet. Even the clock sounded like it was judging me. My name is Evelyn Carter. I'm 34. When did love start feeling like a competition I was never meant to win? Mom didn't raise her voice. He didn't have to. She said it like a fact, like gravity. Same venue. Same day. Same time. She said my sister needed it more. Pregnant. Emotional. Fragile. I heard my sister in the background laughing, someone popping open a soda. No one asked where I was standing. No one asked what this day meant to me. I looked around the empty house and said softly, "Family comes first." The words tasted old. Practiced. Like something I'd been trained to say. After the call ended, the silence stayed. It sat on the couch. It leaned against the wall. The chair across from me looked like it was waiting for an apology I wasn't going to give. That was when I realized something calm and cold settle into my chest. They weren't choosing her over me for the first time. They were just finally saying it out loud. That calm feeling didn't leave. It followed me into the kitchen, where the light hummed too loudly, and into the bedroom, where my phone lay face down like it was ashamed of what it had delivered. I didn't cry. That surprised me. I folded the fabric swatch and placed it back in its envelope, slow and careful, like returning something borrowed. Then I opened my laptop. The screen glowed with a familiarity that felt almost comforting. The venue's website loaded quickly. Clean. Professional. Neutral. It was my old workplace. I knew every corner of that system. The permissions, the authorizations, the quiet back-end doors no one thought about once they trusted you. My sister had never worked a day there. She didn't know the rules. She didn't know whose name still carried weight. My phone buzzed. A message from my sister. "Don't worry, Ev. You'll understand someday. This is bigger than you." Another buzz. "Mom again, softer now. Be a good sport. Don't make this awkward." I stared at the words until they blurred. Bigger than me. Like I was something small that could be stepped around. I typed one calm email to the venue. No emotion. No explanation. Just clarity. "Please update the event details and remove all authorizations under my name." My finger hovered before sending. The house held its breath with me. I clicked send. The silence that followed wasn't empty anymore. It was waiting. The confirmation email arrived 3 minutes later. Polite. Professional. Final. Changes have been noted. Authorization access has been updated accordingly. I closed the laptop and sat there, hands folded in my lap, listening to the refrigerator kick on and off. Somewhere down the street, a car alarm chirped once and stopped. Life going on unaware. My phone rang. I didn't answer. Then again. Then a text from Mom. "What did you do?" Another from my sister, shorter, sharper. "Evelyn, call me." No. I placed the phone face down on the table and finally allowed myself to breathe. Not relief. Something cleaner. Like space opening up where pressure used to live. I walked through the house slowly, touching familiar things. The back of the couch, the door frame with the old pencil marks from years ago. In the hallway mirror, I caught my reflection and barely recognized the woman looking back. Calm eyes. Steady mouth. No apology written on her face. At dusk, my sister posted a story. Balloons being unloaded. Her hand on her belly. A caption full of hearts and the word blessed. 50 guests confirmed. Caterer tagged. Venue location pinned. She had no idea. What she didn't know was that the permissions she thought were hers had always been borrowed. That the doors she planned to walk through only opened for one name. Mine. And tomorrow, when she arrived smiling, recording, ready to be celebrated, the building would remember who it belonged to. Morning came without ceremony. Gray light pressed against the windows like it wanted in. I dressed slowly, choosing comfort over symbolism, then paused in the hallway. The mirror caught me again. Same woman. Different posture. I touched the glass once, like checking if it was real. My phone stayed quiet until noon. Then it exploded. Missed calls stacked like accusations. Messages tumbling over each other. My sister first, confused then irritated. Mom next, sharp, clipped, suddenly aware of tone. An aunt chimed in, then a cousin I hadn't spoken to in years. The family group chat lit up, names flashing like warning lights. They say the coordinator won't let us in. Why is security asking for written authorization? This is embarrassing. I imagine my sister in the parking lot, hand on her belly, smile frozen while guests shifted behind her. I imagined her laughing it off, phone already raised, recording the moment she thought she controlled. At 12:47 a voicemail came through. My sister's voice cracked halfway through. Not crying. Not yet. Ev, just fix it. You're ruining everything. Ruining. The word hung there. I replayed it once, then set the phone down beside the mirror. Outside, a cloud slid across the sun, dimming the room. I knew what was happening at the venue now. The lights were being tested, the screen was warming up, and the truth, quiet, documented, undeniable, was cued. All it needed was an audience. At exactly 1 o'clock, the silence broke. Not from my phone, but from the memory of the place itself. I could picture the lobby without trying. The polished floor that echoed every step. The faint smell of citrus cleaner. The way the lights came on in sections, never all at once, like the building waking up slowly. A text arrived from an unfamiliar number. This is Daniel from operations. Just confirming, you want the updated program to run? I stared at the message. My thumb hovered the way it had the night before. Somewhere my sister was still smiling, still telling people it was a small delay, still laughing a little too loud to cover the crack forming underneath. As I typed, please proceed as scheduled. Another message followed, quieter somehow. Understood. I imagined the guests being guided inside at last, relieved. Chairs scraping softly. Someone asking where the cake should go. My sister stepping onto the stage area, phone raised, ready to capture the moment she reclaimed control. She wouldn't notice the screen behind her at first. No one ever does. The lights would come on gently. The room would settle, and then, without a single raised voice, the story she'd been telling about herself would stop. Replaced by the one she'd helped bury. I didn't need to be there to feel it. I could sense the shift the way you feel pressure change before a storm. The moment laughter thins. The moment silence lands heavier than sound. My sister would have turned when the lights adjusted. Not fully. Just enough to notice the room quieting behind her. Someone clearing their throat. A chair scraping too loudly. The phone in her hand still recording, catching a smile that hadn't learned how to leave yet. Then the screen. Not dramatic. Not flashing. Just clear. Contracts. Emails. Timelines. My name printed where hers had never been. Authorization trails stretching back years. Proof laid out like folded linen. Clean, undeniable, impossible to argue with without raising your voice. I imagine Mom standing up slightly, then sitting back down. Her mouth opening, then closing. The way she does when she realizes the ground has shifted and there's no script for it. Someone would whisper my name. Someone else would ask, is this part of it? My sister would laugh once. Too sharp. Too fast. I stood in my living room, one hand resting on the back of that waiting chair, the other on the mirror's edge, watching myself breathe through it. For the first time, I wasn't shrinking to keep peace. I was letting the truth finish its sentence. The messages started flooding in again. This time not panic, not confusion, but awe. Relatives texting each other, whispers turning into calls. Friends asking what had happened. The photos she'd taken, posted mid-pretense, now showing her frozen smile against the backdrop of undeniable facts. I pictured her standing there, hand on her belly, phone trembling, realizing she wasn't just embarrassed, she was invisible. Every guest's eyes flicked past her to the screen behind, tracing the meticulous history of access she never had, authority she never earned. The laughter had died somewhere between the balloons and the cake. Mom's message came at last. We need to talk. My sister, silent now. And me, calm, leaning against the mirror again, feeling the first real warmth of quiet power. I didn't gloat. I didn't speak. I just let it settle. The room, the truth, the weight of what had been ignored for so long. The screen, like a quiet judge, had done the work words never could. The house would remember it too, long after the lights dimmed. And in that pause I realized revenge wasn't loud. It wasn't messy. It wasn't even personal. It was inevitable. The quiet was heavier than applause. By the time I arrived at the venue, the storm had passed. Not outside but inside, the kind that leaves you hollow and full at once. Chairs were still, balloons drooping slightly, and the screen behind the stage now blank, as if it had whispered its truth and then vanished. My sister hadn't spoken since the last guest had quietly moved away from her, hesitant. Mom hovered near the exit, her hands trembling slightly. No one looked at me directly, but I didn't need their eyes. I already knew what they'd seen. I already knew the story had changed without a single shout. I stepped onto the small stage, my heels clicking lightly against polished wood. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't announce my triumph. I only straightened the microphone, the echo of silence filling the space between words I didn't need to say. The truth had done more than embarrass. It had clarified, reshaped, and restored what had been quietly taken for granted. And as I looked at the faces around me, relieved, unsettled, awake, I understood something poetic. Justice is not in destruction, but in the quiet unfolding of what's deserved. I turned off the microphone, stepped back, and let the room breathe again. The sky outside had softened, and for the first time that day I smiled without thought of revenge.